In this video, we're going to do some mods to my hunting transportation sitting here behind me. So sit back and I'll show you what we're going to do. What we have here is an old Sears and Roebuck three-wheeled bicycle. Well, tricycle, I guess it would be. I got this from my father-in-law a few years ago. It was up in his mezzanine. It used to belong to his father. So I actually got the idea to convert this into a electric bike to use for deer hunting purposes. I actually ride this out to the deer stand so I don't get all sweated up walking out there. It's actually pretty quiet going out there. I have a previous video, which I'll mount a link up here, where I actually converted it to Milwaukee power versus the battery pack that came in there. So these two 18-volt batteries are in series to get me 36 volts to run the front wheel, which is the electric wheel. And then this battery is used to run this headlight right here, LED headlight. So this thing actually works pretty slick for going out to the deer stand because it's semi-stable. I can actually put stuff in the cart in the back there and haul stuff out there. And then with the headlight, I can go out there in the dark. What I have noticed, though, is that I have spooked deer with that headlight before. So what I'm going to do is change it over to a red LED headlight. Okay, I'm actually going to put two of them on there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the old headlight. So I've got to delete the wiring here. I'm going to build a little bracket here to mount the new LED headlights on there, and then I'll get those set up and wired in, and I'll take you along for how I'm going to do this. So first things first, I'm going to unplug all my power back there so I don't accidentally short something out. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how I'm going to do the rest. So stay tuned. All right, I've got the old headlight off, and I'm trying to mock up here what the new headlight's going to be, how it's going to be set up here. So I think I'm just going to basically do it something like this here. You can see I have an L bracket mounted to the bike already. So I'm going to set the new LED headlight on this. I'm going to cut that piece of aluminum to length, and I'm actually going to put the other LED headlight underneath it, so going through the bottom. So that should work. So let's go ahead and we'll get a measurement on our aluminum, cut it to length, and then we'll start drilling some holes. So let me get set up, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. All right. We're on the bench here. Pardon the mess here. I'm in the midst of getting another project cleaned up while I'm working on this one. So I just basically laid us out on the piece of aluminum here. I'm going to go ahead and mark where my far end is here. And I'm going to go ahead and get that cut off. Let me set it up on the saw, and you can watch me cut it off. All right, so I've got my aluminum bar rigged up in here in my vise. So if I had a bandsaw, this would be really easy, but I don't have a bandsaw, so you got to work with what you got. So right now I've got a vise and I've got a Sawzall. So I've got this rigged up so that my line that I marked is right here along the edge, and I'm going to use the edge of the vise as a saw guide, basically. Okay, so I've got a long Sawzall blade, and what I'm going to do is rest it at an angle like this. Get it started, and now it's just going to follow that vise right down that black line. Done. Okay, let me pick up our chunk, and I will show you what we're going to do next. All right, so now we're over here at a grinder. I'm going to go ahead and nip off some of these sharp edges on the grinder and hit it with the wire wheel to smooth it out, just to make it safe for handling so I don't cut myself. So have a look-see. See, that took most of it off already. Now we're going to go ahead and just hit it with the wire wheel here. Just kind of round off the sharp edges. So now it's a lot more manageable, not sharp. So I'm not going to cut myself. All right, so I'll show you the next step in a second here. Stay tuned. All right, I've got my bar all ground down and smooth. Now I've got my light centered on the bar. So we're going to try to figure out where we want our holes. So I actually have a transfer punch set here from Harbor Freight. Really cheap. I think this whole thing was like $8, but it works great for doing stuff like this. So got my punch set. I've got it's got a pointed end, so I'm going to go ahead and put it right in the middle here, and make a little dent with the hammer. That way we can have a mark in there where we want to drill. So, okay, doesn't take much, just a little dent. Make sure we're centered again. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Boom. Okay, now I got 2 dents. Now I know where I want my holes to be. Okay, so we're going to go ahead over to the drill press, and we'll go ahead and drill our holes. So 1 second. I almost forgot, we actually should mark our center hole here too. So the center hole being where it's going to mount on the bracket on the bike. So measuring this across here, we are at 8 5/8. So half of that is going to be 4 5/16. So that puts us right about, whoop, let's get her straightened back out here. There we go. 4 5/16 puts us right about there. So go ahead. Looks like I'm pretty well centered up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a little tappy tappy. Boom. All right, now I have my 3 holes. Now we can go over to the drill press and drill these out. So stay tuned. All right, we are clamped in our drill press here. So I, off camera, I went ahead and I selected my bit. So basically I took my caliper and I measured my bolt. It's supposed to be going in there to hold my, that came with the kit to hold on my lights, and I'm basically at 3/8 of an inch, or I'm sorry, 3/16 of an inch. So I went ahead and I selected a 3/16 drill bit to drill it out. I also went on the center hole of the bracket on the bike, and I measured the inner diameter of the hole there, and I needed a, let's see, 5/16 inch bit for that. So I'm going to go ahead and drill my ends first, my 2 ends, and then I'm going to change the bit out, and I will drill my center. So I'm all set up here in a safe spot for my end, so let's go ahead. Okay, 1 down. Go ahead and flip her around. Take her down and flip her around. Okay, let's get myself centered here. All right. Oop, guess I'm not tight. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and change out our bit, and we will do our middle. Helps if I go the right direction. Now I'm lucky enough to have a drill press in here. It wasn't actually that expensive, but if you don't have a drill press, you can just as easily do this, obviously, with a hand drill. It's really thin aluminum, so it drills really easy. So as long as you have a vise or something sturdy to hold it with, even a vice grips, it'll drill pretty easy. Okay, we're gonna have to move our table down a little bit. There we go. Go ahead and get our hole out here and exposed for the center. Right about there. Get our table back up. All right, let's get our center hole. Now it's real light, thin aluminum too, so you don't really have to press very hard to get it to drill. It cuts like butter with a drill like this. So, okay, I'm just going to take a file and knock off some of these rough edges here to make sure I don't cut myself as I'm doing the assembly process. So let me get myself cleaned up there, and then I'll bring you back for the next step. Stay tuned. All right, we checked our holes for size. Everything looks good. Now it's time to go over to the bike and get the plate mounted on before we get the lights mounted on. So let me get over there and get set up, and I'll bring you back. All right, I've got our plate bolted on in the center there. I got her snugged up real good. Now we're going to go ahead and assemble the lights. So I should have all my stuff laying here that I need, so hopefully I don't have to struggle too much on camera for y'all, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead, run the bolt through that way, go ahead, run it through that way, Now here's where it gets interesting. Okay, we're going to have a little bit of a clearance issue here. I can see. Yeah, you know what? We might not be able to put 2 on here. We're only going to be able to do 1, it looks like. So I got my front brake cable there. Now I do have the option to delete the front brake cable, but I'm not sure I want to do that. So let me take a moment here and size up my options, and I'll bring you back. All right, guys, here's where we're at. I actually wound up just deleting the front brake altogether. I barely use it. This does have foot brakes for the rear, so that's plenty for my purpose, so I don't really even need the front brake. It kind of gets in the way anyways. So that's gone. I'll get rid of the cable in a minute here, but I also had a fitment issue here. My bolt was too long, so it was keeping the housing, it was hitting the housing down here and keeping it away from me bolting it up. So I found a shorter bolt, still a little on the long side, not quite as short as what I needed it, but you got to work with what you got, and that's what I got. I still had a spacing issue here, so I stacked up a couple washers. So, is this the right way to do this? No. Should I have gone to the hardware store and gotten the correct length bolts? Yeah, but I didn't. There's a reason the guy keeps around a jar and a drawer full of old nuts and bolts and random things like that, so you can piece stuff like this together. This is going to work just fine. I've got lock nuts on here, lock washers on there and everything, so that's going to hold sturdy. So now I've got my light mounted up, and we can go ahead and get onto the wiring. So let me get myself set up there, and I'll bring you back. Stay tuned. All right, so I've already gone ahead and I've done the positive wire from our lights. So basically I took our 2 reds from our lights and put them together with the red going up to the switch up on the handlebars there. I stripped back a little bit more of the insulation here just to give me a little bit more leeway, but what I'm using is these, hopefully you can see this here, these quick solder, I guess, quick solder connections you call them. So basically what you have here is it's a piece of shrink wrap tubing that's clear. You got, this whole thing is shrink wrap plus the blue portion here shrinks down even further, and then in the middle here you have some actual low temp solder. So what you do is you stick the ends of the wire in here so that they overlap in the middle, and then you take a heat gun, or you can use a lighter even, and you heat this whole thing up, and these will shrink around the wires, and then the solder in the middle will actually melt and make a permanent connection with the wires here. They work slicker than snot. So I use those quite a bit actually. You can see here, I've used them for my previous wiring on this bike here, but I use them a lot, and they're pretty cheap. You can get a whole kit like that for like 20 bucks, and I got mine like 5 years ago, and I still have a bunch left. So I'm going to attempt to show you how this works on camera here, so hopefully you'll be able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2 blacks from my lights, put them together here. You don't really want to twist them together because you want the strands to be able to interlock once you get them inside the tube here, okay? So I've got my, I want to try to keep these guys as parallel as possible here. All right, let's get them in there, okay? They're past the center point of the solder in there. We're going to take our other end, do the same thing, and try to get it so that the strands overlap there, okay? You want to, if you're going to keep gripping this, you want to get away from the strands a bit, because this does get hot, but you can usually get yourself set up, so that you don't have to hold it. Okay, I'm going to keep it just like that. I'm going to hit it with the heat gun, and we will see what happens. You want to take the heat gun, you want to work it back and forth real slow like this. Don't keep it in one spot because you could melt or burn something. So you can see it's starting to shrink down now on the ends. The solder in the middle is starting to heat up. It's starting to change shape. And now, you probably can't see it on camera there, but I can see the solder is starting to run a little bit. So we can now turn it off and give that a minute or two to cool down, and then you'll have a good connection. So I'll bring you back once that's cooled down. So stay tuned. All right, I've given that a minute or two to cool, so we'll go ahead and give her the old tug test. I'll grab both ends of the wire. See, it's pretty firm. Nothing's going anywhere. All right, so we should be ready to see if that light's going to fire up. So let me pop you off the tripod here. All right, So we'll hop up here. We'll plug in one of our Milwaukee batteries for the lighting. Okay. Didn't hear any pops, didn't hear any smoke. Let's go ahead and try the switch. Hey, hey, I see light. All right, both of our light bars are on. Okay, well, tell you what. Let me go over and shut off the lights in the shop, and we'll give her one more try here. Let's see how that looks. All right, well, I've turned the lights off in the shop here, but it's midday, so you're not going to get the full effect here. But let's just see what happens when we flip the switch. I mean, that's pretty red. That's pretty bright. I think I'm impressed so far. So, we are going to give you the full test. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to shut off the camera. I'm going to just bundle up this wiring a little bit, make that a little bit better, zip tie some things up. But I will bring you back tonight when it's dark out, and we'll go outside and take a test drive in the pitch black and see how it looks. So stay tuned until then. All right, here we go. We're back at night here, so let's go for a test drive. All right, let's power on our unit. Let's try to flip her on once here and just see how it looks from here. Oh, that's pretty red. All right, let's go for a ride, and then we'll flip it on as we get out there in the dark. All right, let's go ahead and flip her on here. Whoop. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see already got to do some adjusting here. We're a little bit on the high side. See if I can tilt one of these down a little bit. There, how's that? He might be a little too far now. About the lower guy. Alright, well, let's go. Let's see how that looks once we get out here towards the trail more. Come on, focus. Camera doesn't like the dark. Here, let me turn her off and try to turn it back on. 1 second. All right, there we go. And we got her aimed a little bit better now. All right, let's go see the trail coming up here in a minute. Oh yeah, look at that. That will do. All right, I'll shut her off until we get to the shed, so I'll bring you back in a minute. All right, we're back at the shed. I actually call that a success. I actually could see better with those lights than I could with the regular light that I had on the front, the regular white light. So I think that'll work good for hunting season this year, so just a little something for you hunters out there. If you guys like this type of video, please let me know, and I'll try to do more stuff like that, or if there's other things you'd like to see, please let me know, and I'll try to post that stuff. So until the next one, take care, signing off.